everybody. This is John Murphy at Murtech.com with your daily news update. Okay, here we are on December the 22nd in the year of our Lord 2025. I'm glad you're here with me. I've got some great information for you, so let's just go ahead and click over here, Murtech on Rumble. This is my Rumble channel here. And right down here is the video that we're going to be going over tonight, my episode 1784. So let's click into this. Let me go ahead and pause this. Close out the live chat. I want to slide down here and click the Show More button to expand out the description box. We have information from SGT Report, Barry Cunningham, McWattersaffect, Wendy Bell Radio. So before we get into that, it's all great information. I do need to give a shout out to Sweet P23453. Okay? Thank you very much, Sweet P23453, for following my channel. Deb Ryden just started following my channel. Nan Roa just started following my channel. And I guess that's Linda just started following my channel. And Wigglebutt12 just started following my channel. I've been waiting for Wigglebutt12 to jump in there. But thank you all very much for following my channel. I greatly appreciate that. I hope you're tuned in, and I hope you enjoy the content. Okay, Ms. Flintstone17 reposted my daily news wrap-up from last night. Debbie BS reposted my episode 1783 from last night. Christina Poquette commented on my episode 1779. Duper777 and Viper Senior commented on my episode 1783 from last night. And incidentally, my video this morning, my extra C, my third video out, I always like to raid Wendy Bell's. And when I did that, I noticed that Viper C was watching Wendy Bell this morning. And he did send me, in his comment, he said, "Sorry, I'm just unable to watch your live streams," but he does come back and watch them later, which is fine. As long as we get the information out, that's great. Okay, let's see here. Where was I? Oh, yeah. Debbie BS commented on my extra 568A, and Debbie BS commented on my extra 568B. Debbie BS and Cottonball31 commented on my extra 568C. So thank you so much, folks, for your comments. I enjoy reading your feedback, and I definitely appreciate your support. So let me give this a thumbs up. Boom. There we go. It's just that easy. And you know, it doesn't hurt a bit. In fact, it kind of feels good down deep inside, nice and warm. Right here below the video that you're watching, I have one of those thumbs up icons. So if you click on that and get that nice warm feeling down deep inside, that would be fantastic. Okay, well, let's get into this. SGT Report, has America been captured? With Todd Callender, Attorney Todd Callender, and Dr. Lee Vliet. Let's jump into this. I'm going to start this up after their introductions and commercials. So let's go ahead and get it started here about the 7-minute and 20-second mark.
That's sort of how I feel, at least.
Hang on. This is. I'm glad you touched on this, because it's something that we're starting to see more and more. And that is that people, when I say lost their minds, I mean that. You know, the reality of the situation is people's bodies have been infected with nanobots that break the blood-brain barrier. These things are in their neurons. According to the science that we've dug up, they're literally remote control people. So what stops them from doing these kinds of things? What AI agent, right, because bodies are being incorporated into the AI matrix, will they use this time? And whether it's psychedelic drugs or whatever else, MK Ultra kind of stuff, one way or another, there is a long history of governments using patsies to do these crimes. So when you say hit teams, that could apply anywhere. It's not like people getting on an airplane loading up to go do this. Right? The resources are in place. That's the scary part to me.
No, I think that's well said. And I want to just move on just real briefly and say, if you're not watching, you don't know. And if you are commenting negatively about Candace Owens without having watched, you're a knee bender. So much pouring out of Candace on a nightly basis that I won't even begin to try to recap it here. But I will play this clip between Candace Owens and Piers Morgan And hats off to Candace, because she continues to be maligned and targeted for character assassination, if not outright destruction, just like Tucker Carlson is. Here's the exchange y'all must hear.
Doesn't matter how many times you keep telling the public that I'm spewing bullshit. It is only because there has not been anything that has come out of this investigation that makes any sense, that the public is not listening to. I am sorry to say this, Pierce, people like you. And what I love about you and I sitting down is at this exact same time last year, you were doing the same weird questioning and making all these things when I said that they were committing a Holocaust against the Gazans, and then you changed your mind.
Actually,
Pierce,
this time,
I'll see you next year when you change your mind again, and we have more information about what happened, and you realize that the difference between me and you is that I have the courage to take the risks and ask the questions first, okay, before it's popular. You wait until it becomes popular, and then you change your mind.
He is a firebrand. I love Candace.
1000%.
That was fabulous.
That really was. I tell you, she really took, more power to her for her courage and her willingness to confront things that nobody wants to talk about and do so before they're popular enough. I lived some of that with the vaccine that we called out very early. Todd and I know that one well, and we were demonized. And then suddenly, now that it's obvious, everybody is jumping on the bandwagon to finally acknowledge that the shots are damaging and killing people and maiming them. So more power to her, and I love it that she takes on that pompous Pierce.
Yeah, that was beautiful. And I just want to echo your sentiments there, Doctor. It's what I love so much is that spirit, the courage that she is unbridled and it's contagious. I just love it. I want everybody to feel courageous, to speak your rights, to speak the truth, because at the end of the day, it's the truth that is our greatest weapon. And she's asking questions. It's the best way to bring truth to light. Rather than making a statement and making your own findings, blah, 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 get the other side to make your point for you. Ask hard questions. I just freaking love that.
Well, that's what investigative journalism was supposed to be.
That's right.
Journalists are supposed to ask the tough questions that people don't want to answer or are hiding from. And they're not doing it. They're just corporate shills and government shills. It's disgusting.
The other thing, though, too, guys, is she's not just asking questions, and of course she is providing information via her investigation, which is filling in the blanks left by the feds and Kash Patel.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, if her show on a daily basis was actually an FBI briefing to the public, to the people of the United States, everybody would be wide awake right now. But a lot of people aren't listening to her, like my neighbor, God bless him. We got together for a Christmas party the other night. I love Dave, great guy. Dave, I'm calling you out by name. You know I love you. But he, honestly, he's not listened to Candace, not once, not 1 minute, but he believes her to be a grifter. And I said, well, if you're not listening, how do you make that judgment? And we're getting the same thing across the board. I'm telling you guys, this is the most important story of our time. And Candace is very, very close to sussing this thing out. In fact, without going into much detail, being in Arizona yourself, Dr. Vliet, are you familiar with Fort Huachuca in Arizona?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, it is a military intelligence base to a large degree. And the stuff she's uncovered going on there is so earth-shattering. It's got the power to bring down our government over the Charlie Kirk assassination. I guess if we had an honest mainstream media, and since we don't, it won't bring down the government because nobody will ever find out. All right. So I just got to go there. You guys can listen for yourselves to Candace Owens. But go ahead. You look like you have a comment, Lee.
Well, I do. You made a comment about if we had an honest media. We haven't had an honest media for my entire lifetime that I can recall. The media, the corporate media, owned by a very few corporations, probably six or less, has been a propaganda machine as effective, if not more so, in fact, more insidious than Pravda, because Pravda in the Soviet Union, everyone knew it was a state-run press.
That's true.
And ours is more insidious because it's been flying under the disguise of a free press, independent press, and investigative reporters, none of which they've been doing. I mean, go back to even before, when I was too young to pay attention or to know. But the Kennedy assassination, look at all of the lies from that.
Yeah. Let me add to this, Doctor, because I'm so happy you said this. First and foremost, we do have a state-sponsored propagandist. It's called NPR, National
Yeah.
Public Radio. But on top of that, what people may not realize, the word pravda in Russian means truth. So it's really quite a joke and funny. It's kind of like National Public Radio. It is propaganda. And by the way, there is a ton of credible evidence to show that our commercial media has been controlled by the CIA for the entirety of the time period you talk about. It has always been a propaganda tool. It's always been seductive and glitzy and really attractive people up there telling you these things. It's all by design. It's actually psychological warfare, as you well know, and
Yes.
we're victims to it.
And you know, that has become, with the ability through some of the technological advances, where people have been able to take recordings of multiple channels across the US, multiple media outlets across the US, and play little clips of the same speech and analyze the
Same
transcripts.
words.
There's
Exact same words.
and words that has more than anything helped the public to see just how uniform the messaging is.
Oh, and on that note, Doctor, the one I'm thinking of that you speak perhaps to is the one where they say social media is dangerous to our democracy, blah, blah, blah. And they're trying to effectively disenfranchise people that actually get their media, get their information from, I guess you call it alt media, social media, situations, programs like this, right? They try to create a wedge, as they always do. Divide and conquer is their methodology. It's their formula. So yeah, and that went across the United States at the same time, the exact same text. Amazing.
Oh, so many of these things have been the exact same text. They get a script, but we learned that during the Obama administration and the press conferences that they had every day. But let me mention something just to remind everyone, Sean and Todd, when you hear the buzzword, we have to protect our democracy, they are actually correct, because democracy means tyranny of the majority control. We are not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic with the checks and balances that our founders put in, warning against the dangers of a majority rules democracy. And so when the Democrats talk about protecting democracy, what they mean is we are protecting everything we can do through fraud and propaganda and lies and deception to control everyone, because we have the majority.
Well, let me back you up. Let me back you up too and say, on this same thread, I'll show you guys this. We'll take a look at my site, thephaser.com. Now, not my words, Jimmy Dore's words. I like Jimmy Dore a great deal. Jimmy Dore happens to be one of the few people in the alternative media willing to cover what Candace has been saying, and to his great credit, listening to her and drawing his own conclusions without merely throwing her under the bus like the knee benders who don't want you to listen to her. And Erica Kirk was essentially caught lying about those Egyptian planes. Now, I won't play the clip. You guys can listen to this yourself. But Erica Kirk went on with Barry Weiss, the new head of CBS Zionist News. And Barry Weiss is very much one of these bought and paid for mockingbirds. And it was a softball interview. And when asked about some of the Candace conspiracy theories, the two Egyptian military jets came up. And instead of Erica saying, I don't know anything, I don't even know what she's talking about, that is so crazy, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard, I don't know anything about Egyptian military jets, she went on some crazy tirade saying she's never flown aboard those jets and she has proof because she was pregnant at the time. It's a very weird thing to say. And yeah, she didn't deny knowledge of the Egyptian military jets, folks. She's not looking very good in the town square, and public opinion is starting to turn against Erica Kirk. I can tell you that right now firsthand.
Well, showing up in hot leather pants, just after your husband's been assassinated doesn't help the picture very much. And yeah, I'm bothered by that response that you talk about. Those are two different things, right? I don't know about them, and I've never been on them. Why would somebody volunteer that information? It's bizarre.
It's very bizarre. And again, the Fort Huachuca in Arizona military intelligence stuff going on with the whistleblower that Candace got is a really bit of divine intervention. And at first, it was such divine intervention that I thought Candace was being set up, but she's vetted this guy. She's checked all the receipts. He's got the metadata from his photos when he was on the base. Folks, if you're not listening to Candace Owens, you're missing out on the greatest, maybe, journalist of our time investigating the greatest modern assassination of our time, the murder of Charlie Kirk. And
Give us the spoiler alert, Sean, because I haven't been able to keep track of Fort Huachuca. I certainly know that we've got whistleblowers from there ourselves in the medical side, but I don't know precisely what it is you're speaking of.
Yes, sir. Let me do that for you right now. This is a longer clip. Let me see if I can just, I didn't have this queued up. So here's the whistleblower. And as the story goes, when this poor man was in his 20s, working for the military on the border, he was part of a drug intervention task force, sort of a JSOC team. So not just the average U.S. Military guy. He was part of a special team out of Fort Huachuca, and he and his team discovered what they thought was a giant tunnel connecting Mexico to the United States, where all the drugs were coming through in Mexico. Now, I guess leadership tried to cover this up to some extent. This man made sure it got out. And then the tunnel was discovered. It made huge news, the largest tunnel of its kind at that time. And then for the rest of his life, he's been taunted and harassed by the U.S. military to the degree it's ruined his life. Lots of stories he's going to tell in the future, is my understanding. I'm loosely paraphrasing here. But Candace finally brought him on after recapping this story about a week ago. She brought him on last night. And when he went down to Camp Huachuca, and here's why. Here's the punchline to the story. After he was being harassed about the tunnel, years and years ago, 25, 30 years ago when he was 20 years old, he was issued a gag order, a 25-year gag order, Todd, where he couldn't talk about it publicly. Well, that gag order lapsed about 2 weeks before September 10th, and he had finally had enough of all the harassment in his entire life, so he decided to go back to Camp Huachuca to get some answers and to just confront brass. And that's when he stumbled into this high-level meeting. I'll let him take it from there, because if John Grisham wrote it in a book, you might find it implausible.
Okay. I'm going to put you on the edge here, and I'm going to go ahead and pause this because I want to get to some more information. Now, I've not covered much about this Candace Owens and Erica Kirk thing because it seems to me like it's a lot of going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. I don't listen to Candace Owens all that much, and I don't listen to the Charlie Kirk channel, although I do share Charlie Kirk's channel on Murtech.com. I know there's a lot of people that don't like the going back and forth. There's a lot of people that have negative things to say about Candace Owens. Excuse me. And there's a lot of people that tend to agree with what she says. Excuse me. Like here in SGT reports, I got the hiccups. So I wanted to go ahead and share this out and let you know that I'm going to share this video in my daily news wrap-up coming up after this, starting about 9:30. So if you want to watch more of this, I will start it right at this point here, and we'll continue on from there. And, I want to play what you people want to watch. So let me know in the chat if you would like for me to add this in my daily news wrap-up, or if not. If not, then I won't. If I get some people that say they would rather not see this, then by all means, I'll take it off. But with that being said, let me go ahead and click on the Rumble link here and show you that this video does come from SGT Report. I'm following his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, let's jump back here and move on because I want to share some information from Barry Cunningham regarding, in this speech, J.D. Vance sure sounded like he's ready to be 48. And from the way he talks, I would like for him to be 48.
Speeches at Turning Point USA's event AmFest this weekend, and I showed you one earlier with Tulsi Gabbard. I've got a couple that I want to show you, but none more important than this one by J.D. Vance. I think you're going to love it. Take a listen.
What an amazing crowd all of you are, and I have to admit, today solves one of the great insecurities that I had. Because as I've watched Nicki Minaj come out and declare her support for the truth, for courage, and for wisdom, I've had this little nagging voice in the back of my head wondering whether she thinks I look like the J.D. Vance meme. And it turns out, and I confirmed when she walked down the steps, Nicki Minaj actually knows what I really look like, and that is the best tribute that I could possibly imagine. I have to start off with a note of gratitude. Erica, I cannot thank you enough for your strength, your grace, and your kind words of support for this administration and for me personally. You lead an incredible movement at Turning Point, and I will fight alongside you and President Trump and every patriot in this room to defend the country that we so dearly love. And when I say that I'm going to fight alongside of you, I mean all of you, each and every one. President Trump did not build the greatest coalition in politics by running his supporters through endless, self-defeating purity tests. He says, make America great again because every American is invited. We don't care if you're white or black, rich or poor, young or old, rural or urban, controversial or a little bit boring or somewhere in between. People of every faith come to our banner because they know that the America First movement will make their lives better. And they also know that the Democrats don't care about anything other than maybe transing their kids. So if you love America, if you want all of us to be richer, stronger, safer, and prouder, you have a home on this team. I didn't bring a list of conservatives to denounce or to deplatform, and I don't really care if some people out there, I'm sure we'll have the fake news media, denounce me after this speech. But let me just say, the best way to honor Charlie is that none of us here should be doing something after Charlie's death that he himself refused to do in life. He invited all of us here. Charlie invited all of us here for a reason, because he believed that each of us, all of us, had something worth saying, and he trusted all of you to make your own judgment. And we have far more important work to do than canceling each other. We have got to build, and President Donald Trump is a builder. We're building a better country right now, and you have a rightful place in the success of your nation and the success of this movement. And we build by adding, by growing, not by tearing down. Charlie Kirk was a great builder too. He understood that any family can have its disagreements, its tough conversations. We can learn and improve and treat one another better. We love each other despite the disagreement. Winning demands teamwork, and I am honored to be on Turning Point. There's still so much important work to do, my friends. We're barely a year into this administration, not even a year into the administration. But I'm so proud of the accomplishments of the president and the entire administration. In just a year, we ended Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's border crisis. December marks 7 months straight of zero releases at the southern border. More than 2.5 million illegal immigrants have left the United States, the first time in over 50 years that we have had negative net migration, and it's just the start. When you restore sanity at the border, it shows up everywhere else. Rent prices are dropping 4 months in a row, and more native-born Americans are working than ever before. Kamala Harris opened the border and destroyed the economy. The Trump administration gave you net negative migration and much more job creation. Real wages are finally growing. Inflation is half of what it was under Democrats. Gas prices are their lowest in years. And we have finally made it clear that in the United States, we believe in hard work and merit. Unlike the left, we stand against treating anybody. And I love what he said about this. We treat anybody different because of their race or their sex. Relegated DEI to the dustbin of history, which is exactly where it belongs. In the United States of America, you don't have to apologize for being white anymore. And if you're an Asian, you don't have to talk around your skin color when you're applying for college, because we judge people based on who they are, not on ethnicity and things they can't control. We don't persecute you for being male, for being straight, for being gay, for being anything. The only thing that we demand is that you be a great American patriot, and if you're that, you are very much our team. Just consider the contrast. Kamala Harris used the government to censor you. We're using in the Trump administration the government to protect your free speech, whether it's on college campuses or in the digital marketplace of ideas. Today, our military is welcoming patriots instead of firing them for refusing to accept an unlawful vaccine mandate. To honor Charlie, but also to honor all of you, we're working to end the scourge of left-wing violence in the United States of America. We're going after the far left crime networks, but we're also going after the monsters that fund them. We don't just want to go after the Antifa member who threw a brick at an ICE agent. We want to know who bought the brick, and we're going to prosecute them too. We're making America healthy again with our great HHS Secretary Bobby Kennedy. We're bringing drug prices down and purging our food supply of the poison that had built up over a generation. But, my friends, there is so much more to be done. And the people saying we need to be doing more, we need to be doing it faster, trust me, I hear you. Greatness awaits every single one of you in the America First movement we are building together, but we need your help to get there. Do you want more prosecutions? Great. So Donald Trump and I have a list of better judges and prosecutors to enact swifter justice. So join us in the fight against the stupid Senate rules to stand in their way. Do you want faster deportations? So go to ice.gov/join, because we're building an army of patriots and we need good people who care about the country to help us secure the border and do it even faster.
Okay, great information. I'm going to pause that there. This actually comes from YouTube. He dropped this on YouTube. For some reason, he didn't drop it on Rumble. And my playlist does come from Rumble, so unfortunately, this won't be in my Daily News Wrap-Up tonight, but the link to this video is in the description box below. You saw me click on it to get there. The video comes from Barry Cunningham. I'm subscribed to his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. But yes, I like the way J.D. Vance talks. If you can look back and remember how Pence talked, Mike Pence, who could have very well been our president had the election gone to Donald Trump in 2020, he would have been the vice president from 2020 to 2024. Chances are he would have been elected president in 2024. He would have been our president now. But there's a vast difference between night and day. And here, Turning Point, I'm just giving you a little, I guess, one side versus the other. You know, he talked about Erica Kirk here. I'm not sure what, as I said, I haven't listened to Candace, and I don't want to harp on this, and I'm not sure what her reasoning behind this, but the kid's parents turned him in, okay, to the police, and they found the weapon, and the weapon belonged to the family. So, and from what I understand, that was the weapon that killed Charlie Kirk. I'm just baffled. I'm just going to wait till this all plays out, and we'll see. But I'm not sure where Candace is going with this, or where she's getting her information, or what. But we'll just go with that. All right, let's jump back here, and let me share this with you here from McWattersaffect Georgia election bombshell. 315,000 votes certified without signatures. And Donald Trump only lost that election by 11,000. Isn't that amazing? Let's see what they have to say.
In Fulton, where they dumped ballots, you will find that you have many that aren't even signed, and you have many that are forgeries. Okay? You know that. You know that. You have no doubt about that. And you will be at 11,779 within minutes, because Fulton County is totally corrupt, and so is she totally corrupt. And they're going around playing you and laughing at you behind your back, Brad. Whether you know it or not, they're laughing at you. And you've taken a state that's a Republican state, and you've made it almost impossible for a Republican to win because of cheating, because they cheated like nobody's ever cheated before.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. And today we're going to be talking about this bombshell news coming out of Fulton County, Georgia. There are many, over 300,000 ballots were fraudulent and not properly certified.
Yeah, for anybody who has been, watching and paying attention to this issue since 2020, here it is. This is what we've been waiting for. And apparently there's truckloads, to quote President Trump, getting ready to come out. We would very much appreciate if you would like, share, and subscribe.
All right, we're going to go ahead and go to the video talking about this. Let's check it out.
I'd say there's a lot of smoke and probably a huge election rigging fire at the heart of Fulton County. The Trump Justice Department is finally suing corrupt Fulton County, Georgia for access to their 2020 election year records. Ever since 2020, Fulton County has, as you know, because we've talked about it over and over, they resisted calls to hand over the data to investigators, threatening anyone who asked about what was going on or why it's being covered up. Now, this, of course, comes on the heels of a stunning admission by Fulton County election officials that a whopping 315,000 votes were improperly, they've admitted it, improperly counted in the 2020 election. Yeah, I'd say there's a lot of smoke and probably a huge election rigging fire at the heart of Fulton County.
It's great news that they're actually not letting it go, and they filed a lawsuit. I mean, this should be the first of many. This should actually be the first of indictments and RICO charges.
I completely agree with her. This should be the beginning of charges against these people. We'll see if these people in the DOJ and Trump's DOJ have balls to do it.
Yeah, well said. And I'll tell you what, RICO charges are exactly what I want to see here.
For the actual people who should have faced them for 2020 in Fulton County, which is the Fulton County officials themselves. I was just reading this. This is amazing. The admission that the Fulton County finally admitted, oh, yeah, we don't dispute that none of these votes, all the early voting votes in Fulton County were not signed to and witnessed to and sworn to, which they're required by law. They're admitting that, which is really something, and went to such lengths to not release this information that they literally invented and what appears to me forged open and closing tapes for tabulators that did not exist during the election.
So the question is, if these tabulators don't exist, what actually counted these ballots?
Yeah. Yeah, where did they come from?
And they were scrambling so much because they were so worried about the investigations, the private investigations going in, showing how rigged and fraudulent the 2020 election was. So they literally invented 10 tabulators and documents for them and claimed that these votes were legitimate. Now, all this time later, they're saying, oh, yeah, we didn't sign them. So now they need to be asked, well, what about those 10 tabulators? Because it's quite obvious when you look at all the information that they compiled that Fulton County was screwed 2020. It was in 2020, and they did not have enough votes to make up President Trump's landslide victory in Georgia that year. So you know why the poll tapes aren't signed for early voting for 315,000 votes? Because they literally had to throw it all out and invent new ones because they didn't have enough votes to overcome President.
Exactly right. That's what they had to do. They had to actually make these votes up. And then at that point, they had to make these new tapes to make it look like they actually counted them properly and so on and so forth. I mean, the fraud is absolutely insane here.
Yeah, if you keep in mind, everyone has seen the video of the ballots coming from under the table. Well, that was 36,000. It took a couple hours to count those in that room. We've all seen the video. Well, 300,000 votes, 10 tabulators, that's 30,000 votes to tabulator, which makes sense. Remember, they're under pressure to create these ballots, these votes, and get the results out, to get it done before they had prying eyes on them. They did this after they sent everyone home.
Well, what's really crazy, if you think about it, doing all this, they still only won the state by 11,000 votes.
Right.
Trump's lead. That's what they did here. I'm glad they're kind of still being put on the hot spot, and I'm really pleased to see the DOJ filing a lawsuit to see if they haven't destroyed these records already that are supposed to be sitting in a warehouse in Fulton County. We know, Emerald, you've covered it so often. No security in that warehouse and so many funny games. Ed Martin already thinks those ballots are destroyed, but we need to get to the bottom of it, and charges need to be filed if they were destroyed. And I think this lawsuit is a great first step.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause that there. And this video will be in my daily news wrap-up as well. So if you want to watch the rest of that, But that, let me go ahead and click on the Rumble link here and show you that this video comes from McWattersaffect. Okay, I'm following his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, I'm going to jump back over here to Mertech.com. Okay, and I'm going to go into my historical facts page. Now over here, I have tons of information talking about the wrap-up smear with Nancy Pelosi, how she explains the wrap-up smear, how they tell lies about people, untruths. We'll get into that some other time. Also, the information about the on the Smith-Month Modernization Act, which allows the mainstream media to lie to you. They have permission to lie to you. It's not against the law to lie to you anymore. All right, and wow, Rumble took this down, but I will find this video here and replace it on my historical facts page. I haven't seen this, been there for a while, but this video explains how there are 300,000 illegal votes with dead people voting, people that don't even live in Georgia voting, people that were too young to be registered to vote, were like 17 years old and voted. All kinds of shenanigans here. But unfortunately, that's that was the wonders of live streaming, where you kind of stick your foot in your mouth. But since we're here, let's go ahead and listen to the wrap-up smear with Nancy Pelosi.
Self-fulfilling prophecy. You demonize, and then we call it the wrap-up smear.
No, here we go. Let me get it back to the beginning for you. It's a self-redeeming prophecy. Here we go.
Self-fulfilling prophecy. You demonize, and then we call it the wrap-up smear. If you want to talk politics, you call it the wrap-up smear. You smear somebody with falsehoods and all the rest.
You smear somebody with falsehoods and all the rest. You mean lies? You mean you lie about somebody? You smear somebody by lying about them, and then what happens?
And then you merchandise it. And then you write it.
Yeah.
And they'll say, see, it's reported in the press that this, and this. So they have that validation that the press reported the smear, and then it's called the wrap-up smear. Now I'm going to merchandise the press's report on the smear that we made. And it's a tactic. It's self-evident.
Yeah, it's just a tactic, folks. It's just a tactic. Okay, this was on C-SPAN. Okay, she announced this on C-SPAN.
But I think I'm worth the trouble.
And this was June 22nd, 2017, after the Democrats took over the House and before they did their first impeachment on Donald Trump, or just before the Democrats took over the House. But yeah, we tell falsehoods about other people and all the rest, and then we tell that to the press, and then you report it, and then we say, see, it's reported in the press that he said this, and he did that, and he did this, and they use that to smear people, ruin their lives, ruin their careers. That's the Democrat. She's the Democrat. She was the head Democrat. That's what Democrats do. Okay. Glad I got that off my chest. Okay, let's get back here. And let me get the page up for you so we can get into some Wendy Bell. Okay. Here we go. Wendy Bell. Right there. Pass the blame. Now this is right after she completes her Pledge of Allegiance.
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. This whole lack of accountability thing is super frustrating. And if I could teach a journalism like 101 class to corporate folk, if I could teach them one lesson about being called out in the media and having to manage the fallout of some kind of a scandal that the media catches wind of, the first thing to do, always tell the truth, tell it fast, tell it succinctly, be consistent, don't lie, admit if you made a mistake, because you know what? It's amazing. The American people are super understanding and forgiving. But when we sniff that you've been lying to us, when we get the vibe that you have been defrauding us, when we believe that we have given you our faith and our trust and you've trampled it, we're done. We're done. We're not going to buy your cars. We're not going to buy your beer. I'm not going to wear your shoes. I'm not going to watch your team. I'm not going to watch your show. And I'm sure as hell not going to tune into your 60 Minutes evening broadcast. 60 Minutes again in the news today, ladies and gentlemen. Why ever would it be? Well, apparently the new muckety muck over at CBS, Bari Weiss, decided to pull the plug on I guess it was a pretty big piece on people being deported from the United States, being deported thinking they were going back home to Venezuela or Guatemala or Honduras or whatever, and finding themselves instead in El Salvador at CCOT. Of course, that is the maximum security prison that the president there, Nayib Bukele, who has done a magnificent job cleaning up crime, taking care of all the offenders on the streets, locking up the worst of the worst, and putting those that are not of that ilk into kind of a rehab where they give back to society, where they learn how to do things, then they have actual skills. And then they go out as prisoners into the community in El Salvador and they do stuff. They fix stuff. They grow things. They manage things. They do construction work. They tend to the police officers' vehicles. They paint. They do electrical. They garden. They're cobblers. They leave prison having repaid some semblance of their debt to the people, and beautifully, they leave with a marketable skill so that there's something for them to do after they get set free. Well, this piece that was supposed to run last night got the yank with 2 hours before airtime because the new head honcho, Bari Weiss, who by no means is a conservative, right, said, you know what, there's some context missing here. This is one of those one-sided pieces, and you can't say we reached out to the White House or we tried to connect with the State Department or we asked Marco Rubio's people for comment or whatever, and we didn't get any answer, so we're really not going to provide their side of the story. She said, we're not going to do that. And this veteran reporter is losing her mind because she thinks she's actually important. You know, I want to know what happened to the media that made any of these people believe that they are above reproach, that they are above, I don't know, the word no. And I want to read you a little bit of this because it's the Daily Mail out of the UK. I subscribe to it because they do bust some things open. And this is one of those stories. Veteran 60 Minutes reporter hits out after Trump deportation story pulled. And I want to read some of this to you. This is where we've become in society, where there are some people who truly believe they are that important, that they don't have to give you both sides, that their truth is the truth, nothing but the truth. And if you don't sign up for it, so help you God. A veteran 60 Minutes correspondent has hit out at her new boss, Bari Weiss, for pulling her segment on the Trump administration's deportation of migrants to a notorious El Salvador prison just 2 hours before it was set to take air, right? Sharon Alfonsi, a reporter for the news magazine since 2015, accused the CBS News editor-in-chief of censoring her work and bowing to the Trump administration over her decision to suddenly scrap the segment. It was set to feature interviews with a group of Venezuelan men who thought they were being sent back to their home country, only to end up in the notorious Sikot prison, which they described as brutal and torturous. Well, newsflash, if you don't want to go to Sikot, don't break the law. And sure as hell don't do it as an illegal in our homeland. That 60 Minutes decides to get this interview with these guys who were like, it was so bad, I didn't think I was going to make it. It was like the worst thing ever. Well, then, you know what? Who do you have to blame? Yourself, not the Trump administration, not the pilot on the plane who took you there, you. This whole idea of passing the blame, right? And then this reporter was like, they've ruined my story. And I'm like, pal, you play in a sandbox. It ain't yours. You don't own it. Somebody else does. You should probably get that straight. Bari Weiss, to her credit, said, you know what? It was really one-sided. There was no Trump administration official saying, look, these people came from the worst place ever. They were let out of prisons and insane asylums, and their leaders of their countries knew who they were and wanted to export them to America. Well, yeah, we got them, we found them, and we're boomeranging them back, but not to their homeland. These people are among the worst of the worst. They will be going to Sikot. I find it so intriguing that this reporter now is saying Bari Weiss is besmirching the sanctity, the 50-year reputation of this fine news magazine channel that breaks news and makes differences. And I'm like, pal, you guys have been twisting the news and selectively editing things since the 1990s. I mean, I just jotted a few things down here. I mean, I remember in the 1980s and 90s, there was this big General Electric nuclear plant story that apparently 60 Minutes was accused of what? Making misleading edits in a story about the plant safety. And that involved the FCC stepping in and punishing 60 Minutes and the people issuing a very rare on-air sorry retraction. Then there was, of course, the 2004 Bush and Gore editing scandal. Oh, another editing scandal. It seems like editing scandals seem to be pretty popular at 60 Minutes. This is the one that led to the end of Dan Rather with Rathergate, right? He had to basically resign in disgrace. Other than that, I'm sure this journalist is right. Bari Weiss was wrong to pull this story. Oh, but wait, there's more. And then there was the Covington Catholic students story where they selectively edited all that and they talked to the Native American protester, right? Very one-sided. They got nailed for that. Talk about Leslie Stahl. I mean, talk about the sit down with Kamala Harris. How many episodes do you need at 60 Minutes to realize you went from 28 million viewers in the 1970s, 80s, 90s down to 8 million viewers now? Why ever would that be? Because you pass the blame, because you do not learn, because people have turned you off. People do not find you credible anymore. We've moved on to other places that we trust far more than you. And that was part of the bing, 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 big reason Bari Weiss was brought in the first place. See, people who need to be victims can never be responsible. They can never take responsibility. This reporter could have said, you know what? I could see your point. I can add some more to it. We can beef this up. We can make this happen. But instead, she chose to run to the media and say the new boss is a Trump sympathizer. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a dangerous game. All America wants is the truth. And yes, we can handle the truth. Maybe, just maybe, 60 Minutes will wake up and start telling us it. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, it kind of feels like Josh Shapiro is putting his toes in the water to run for president. Apparently, Pennsylvania's governor is all over some SNAP fraud in our Commonwealth. What? All of a sudden, we're finding money that's been misused. Curious, ain't it? The story next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network.
Okay, I'm going to move this forward here. But first, I want to go back to my historical facts page and I'm not sure what happened, but I clicked on it again, so I was going to get the title to go look this up on Rumble so that I could share it with you. And right here it is. I don't know why it had that, video, that big video not found thing here, but it's 1 minute and 44 seconds. Let's go ahead and take a listen to it.
2,506 felons voted illegally in Georgia. 66,248 underage and therefore ineligible people to illegally register to vote before their 17th birthday, when the law requires 17 and a half years old. At least 2,423 individuals to vote who were not listed as registered. 1,043 individuals to cast ballots who had illegally registered to vote using a post office box. 4,926 individuals voted in Georgia who had registered to vote after their Georgia voter registration date, thereby canceling their Georgia voter registration. 10,315 or more individuals to vote who are deceased by the time of the election.
10,000 people voted that were dead. Now, it's always been my experience that dead people always vote Democrat. Biden only won by 11,000 votes. Okay, right now he's already mentioned over 17,000. Here we go.
395 individuals to vote in Georgia who had cast ballots in another state, which is illegal in both states. 15,700 individuals to vote in Georgia who had filed a national change of address with the United States Postal Service prior to November 3rd, 2020. 40,279 individuals to vote who had moved across county lines at least 30 days prior to Election Day and who had failed to properly re-register to vote in their new county after moving, also in violation of Georgia law.
So that's okay. It's okay to break the law. It's okay to break the law, but it was the most secure election in American history. Most honest, secure election in American history. Isn't that amazing? Okay, let me move this forward here. Just going to come back here about the 23-minute mark or so. Oh, and I might want to add, I'll let her talk.
It's magic, Welcome back to the Wendy Bell radio program. You gotta love all of the various news sites that are hitting on this CBS 60-minute story. It's funny to me to watch people who truly believe they are all that realize finally that one, they're not in charge, and two, people aren't tuning in. Bari Weiss was hired there to save a failing product. Save it. Meltdown at CBS News, 60 Minutes dumps fawning illegal alien deportation segment at the last second. This is from Red State. I want to read you a couple of these paragraphs. We've reported extensively on the shenanigans at CBS News, a network that was forced to fork over $16 million in July to settle Trump's lawsuit concerning their deceptive editing of a Kamala Harris interview a month before the 2024 presidential election. Because, all that didn't work on the Democrats' favor, of course. Well, here's this side. Much drama ensued at the outlet as veteran diehards continue to insist that resisting Trump and spewing anti-American rhetoric was part of their job description. Give credit, however, to David Ellison, chairman of the CEO of Paramount, Skydance Corporation, who brought on independent journalist, former New York Times opinion editor, and nowadays free thinker Bari Weiss to oversee the hopelessly biased CBS team. This caused much consternation, of course, because the liberal media isn't used to being called out on the carpet or having to justify their excesses, right? How is it possible that Bari Weiss is now the John Fetterman of media? She's the one person who's looking at this and is like, well, we've already been sued out the wazoo. Our viewership is in the toilet. That equals money from advertisers. We really don't want to get sued again. Maybe we should all be more keenly aware of the political nuance of the time and try harder not to suck, right? Nonsense, says CBS News. The arrogance is truly amazing. As this is percolating over here, because that's a huge, huge story, it might not feel like it, but it represents to me a pendulum moving the other way. I'm paying attention in my neck of the woods, in the land before time, to what's happening in Pennsylvania, and all of a sudden, what? We're finding SNAP benefit fraud too? Shut up. Get out. You mean to tell me that these social services that are under the umbrella of welfare and Medicaid, and you and I pay for it, it gets zapped out of our paycheck before we know it. There's rampant fraud, waste, and abuse, probably across every state. So shocking. Let's tune in and hear what's going on in Pennsylvania as the governor, Josh Shapiro, who fancies himself presidential material, good luck, wants to kind of boast about, I'm all over it. I'm on it like white on rice. Okay, Joshy. 7 charged in $775,000 SNAP fraud scheme at a Pennsylvania convenience store. Like literally nowheresville, Pennsylvania. And we've lost $1 million because nobody's paying attention. A quick stop. Convenience store owner and 6 others in Steelton, Pennsylvania have been charged with accepting SNAP benefits despite being permanently banned from the program. Does this surprise anybody? No. See, because in Pennsylvania during COVID, the health department came out like the Gestapo and put out notices to cease and desist. Close your restaurants now. They threatened to take away the alcohol licensing and the occupancy permits and all sorts of other things that a business needs to stay afloat if these businesses, restaurants in Pennsylvania didn't shut down. But when it comes to some rando selling SNAP benefits or buying them from people and making a mint, where's the oversight? Oh, curious. Now that Minnesota is in the news, Josh Shapiro is like, you know what? I'm all about it. The Office of State Inspector General in the Dauphin County DA's office announced charges against 7 individuals involved in a sophisticated SNAP trafficking operation that illegally processed $750,000 in fraudulent transactions over 3 years. This is what the state inspector general says. Man, we were on it like white on rice. I mean, it took us several years. I mean, that's true. But when we got Scooby and Shaggy on the case, we cracked it. And my, let's give credit where credit is due. This investigation demonstrates Pennsylvania's commitment to rooting out fraud and protecting the integrity of programs designed to help our most vulnerable resident, said State Inspector General Michelle A. Henry. Under Governor Shapiro's leadership, right, we've aggressively pursued SNAP trafficking operations across the Commonwealth. We investigate, we prosecute, and we will continue holding accountable those who abuse these life-saving programs. Guys, it's everywhere. It's everywhere, every county, every program. And unless your state government is awake at the wheel, and I'm going to bet they're not, These stories are going to trickle out more and more as we inch closer to the midterms. This is going to be the story, not just affordability. But can you imagine how much more you could afford if people weren't robbing you blind? And the state's letting it happen. Well, when we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, it's not all roses and figured out in Minnesota, my friends. From 1 billion to 9 billion to now tens of possible billions lost. Buckle up. I got it next.
All right. I'm going to pause that there and continue this in my daily news wrap up. But you know what? Josh Shapiro is actually playing this smart. Okay? If he gets this uncovered himself, gets this prosecuted, holds people accountable for this, and he's a Democrat, so he'll be able to get this done. It seems like Republicans have a hard time punishing the corrupt, but the Democrats don't have a problem, punishing their own. But he's doing the right thing, and he's going to come out looking good because he put a stop to it. He punished people for doing it. He held people accountable. Okay? Now, Tim Walz, I don't know what he thinks he's doing. Because, and all these others out there. I mean, even Newsom in California. And the mayor in Chicago and governor there. If they would come out and say, that's the thing to do. We need to clean up our streets. No. They don't want to do that. We want people to be in danger, citizens of our city, to be in danger of getting shot, have a 1 out of 23 chance of getting shot or killed in Chicago every frickin' weekend. What is that all about? I don't understand. I don't understand their logic, why they want to fight what people actually want, like safety and no corruption. That's what some of these Democrats, most of them, are fighting against. No, we can't stop the corruption. No, we can't stop the killings and the assaults on people. No, we can't stop the robberies and the rapes. We've got to keep that going because Donald Trump wants to stop it. Josh Shapiro's doing the right thing. That's all. That's just my opinion. Let me know what you think. I'm going to click on the Rumble link here and show you that this video does come from Wendy Bell Radio. I am following her channel. I've given her a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, let's jump back here. And here we go. Let me copy these live chats in here. Boom. And put them in a comment, because once the live stream is over, the live chats just kind of go away into hyperspace or wherever. I don't know where it goes. Cyberspace, hyperspace, something. But at any rate, these videos that I share with you, I need to click that comment button. Boom. There we go. Now it's official. Okay, these videos that I shared with you come directly from the producer's channel. The link to these videos are right here in the description box, as well as the link to their particular channels. So you can go to their channels and see what else they have, follow their channel, and if you don't mind, follow me too. These videos that I share with you are videos that I've posted on Mertech.com, where I have over 55 no-nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth information here. Your one-stop shop for information that you're not going to get on the mainstream media. Now, I'd like to share all of this information with you, but unfortunately, I just don't have the time to do that, and that's why I've put together my daily news wrap-up playlist here. As I said, we're going to take off with Wendy Bell. We've got McWattersaffect here, SGT report. We've got more information from McWattersaffect, Dr. Steve Turley, Redacted News, Black Conservative Perspective, We the People News, all kinds of information. I've got 15 videos here and probably about 10 hours worth of information. So go ahead and take a break. Grab a donut and a cup of coffee or a sandwich and a soft drink or a beer, and meet me back here at 9:30 and we'll get this going. So I can keep you up to date on what's been going on today. and the information that you're not going to get on the mainstream media. So if you would, folks, please, if you haven't given me a thumbs up yet, please do so. If you're not following me, please do so, and share this information out with your friends, contacts, and family members so they too can have a place to come to get the truth. But with all that being said, I do want to thank you for being with me tonight. Hopefully, I'll get to see you again later, and may God bless.